Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Coach Susan, coming to you to assist you with your CACR, Fairyologist, Angel Intuitive. All are welcome to learn a bit more about their spiritual business. So today we're going to be talking about doing professional readings, and I just want to start off by saying that I am not going to be doing readings during this coaching session. This is all about you and about you doing readings, so please keep that in mind when you post your questions. I'd like to begin by telling you a little bit about me. I'm actually so happy to be back. I've been traveling and gone the past few weeks, and if you check my YouTube channel, you will see all 10 episodes that have really gone on between me and all of you out there listening. So if you're just new to this, don't feel like you're behind, because you certainly can get caught up. So my YouTube station is my name, Susan Dintino, and that's DINTINO.com, aka Coach Susan. So what I would also like to say is that I am a Hay House author. This name of my book is Songs of My Life, Slightly Out of Tune, and I'm very proud of it. It's a great beach read if you're looking for something that's a little bit didactic in nature but funny as well. I think you'll really enjoy it. I've taken just about all of Doreen Virtue's certification programs, and I've been doing this professionally since 2004. Prior to that, I always had metaphysical leanings, but really coming out of the closet, so to speak, all began in 2004 when I took angel therapy practitioner training. So I now work on Doreen's staff as much as I can. We all know she's not traveling that much. So I'm just so happy to be here with you and to discuss today's topic. I will periodically be stopping and checking out your comments. So just know that if you've got questions, please post them. So what we're going to be discussing today is professional readings. And this is an answer to a question somebody posted under the latest meme I put up, that I'm looking for your suggestions of what it is that you would like to talk about in these sessions. And this person had asked, what about email readings and all different types of readings? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as you could see in the meme, or if you didn't see the meme, you could see in the background, we've invited the dolphins to come in and play because we're so near the summer solstice. That's coming up in a couple days, the longest day of the year. And I always feel it's great to bring in that dolphin energy. So we've got, that going on, and it's going to lighten us all up and just have a good time. So sit back, relax. If you have any questions, again, these are questions that pertain to what your career path is. Feel free to post them. Nothing to do with readings. I don't do those during these sessions. So let's begin. How do you prepare for a reading? Before we discuss the different types of readings, let's talk about preparing, how you get ready for a reading. The first thing that I do is I start getting into the person's energy, usually 15 minutes prior to when I'm going to do a reading. Now, this doesn't matter if it's on the phone, if it's something in person, an email reading. When I'm doing any type of reading, my first prep is to start really seeing what I just get intuitively about the person that I'm going to be reading. And I realize this is a very sacred time, not only for them, but for me as well. And I always remind myself at this point that I am strictly the messenger, that whomever's going to come through, the angels, their spirit guides, ascended masters, maybe a deceased loved one, we're talking about dolphin energy, any type of animal guides that want to come in, spirit animals, we welcome them and ask them to assist us so that we give our client the best possible information. So that's the first thing I start really doing and getting into that. Then after I get through with that little analysis, I'll go to my oracle cards and say, okay, what cards are going to be best suited for the reading I'm going to be doing? And often what will happen, say for instance that I'm getting a strong vibe that I'm doing a reading for a woman that's going through a transition in her age, and I'm really feeling strongly like she's really getting into her goddess energy, getting into her power. What I'll do then is I'll go to the goddess deck, and then I might feel, wow, this person could use a little lightening up, so I'll grab one of my fairy decks. And I have a special deck that I always use, and it's the very first deck that I purchased years ago, and it's it's called Angelic Messenger, and it's by Meredith Sawyers, Sowyers. This original deck she doesn't even make anymore. The pictures are flower images. What I loved about this deck from the beginning is that the guidebook is a hardcover book, and especially when you're doing readings for yourself, it's very beneficial. That's my first go-to deck. So I always use that deck because I get a ton of information. There's a number, a flower image, and a word. And again, this is just something that I've started using. Then I'll pull in some other decks and might go to some of the beautiful decks out there by Radleigh Valentine and Doreen Virtue, the tarot decks. I'm a big fan of the Archangel Power Tarot deck, so I'll grab that. So again, this is all intuitive. Because I have so many decks, I'm not going to pull them all out. So now say this has all taken me about 10 minutes. Now I'm into 5 minutes right before I'm going to do the reading. I get into my protection. I make sure I'm grounded. I bring my auric field in so that it's right where it should be, 3 feet around me. And what I like to do is put a beautiful rose in front of my auric field. I ground that rose as well. And whatever color comes to me, for instance, I was very guided to use yellow today. So I'm really feeling like right now it's about me being in my power. I'm in a new venue. I'm in Western New York right now doing this. So I'm going to be here for the summer. So you can notice, for those of you that have been tuning in, that it's not exactly the same surroundings. So being in this energy, it's a little bit different. So I'm feeling, you know, I want to be in my power. I'm doing some business things, keeping myself there. So I'm drawn to that. So my flower today of protection was yellow, very much tying into that solar plexus chakra and reminding me about the power. Okay? So now I'm all prepared for what type of reading. Okay? On my services page, you will see the different types of readings that I do. And this prep that I have just described is a prep that I use regardless of what reading that I'm doing. I will either have a physical timer available, or I'll just pay attention. If I'm doing an email reading, I'll pay attention to the time. I do everything exactly the same regardless of what kind of reading it is. And right now I'm not doing a ton of in-person readings, and I probably won't be doing them here because I really don't have a place where I do readings. So I will say let's focus on phone readings, email readings, video readings. Those are the 3 different types of readings that I'm doing right now. So let's say a phone reading. I personally like to use Skype. I pay, I don't know how much it is. It's a few dollars a month so that I can use Skype and I can call my client. I always make sure that the client gives me a phone number just in case there's a problem with Skype. I've always had good luck with it. It's very easy for me to use my earphones. I think I can count on one hand how many times I've had any issues. And in which case, what I'll do is immediately I'll go to my cell phone, I'll use my cell phone and make the phone call that way. But I prefer to use Skype, so that's what I'll do. The person that you're calling does not have to have Skype. It's just you having Skype. Now, if the person has Skype, it's nice because then you're not charged at all. But I have opted to take this once a month premium payment, which I think is like $2. It's very inexpensive, so that I can call outside lines. I can call anybody. Because sometimes as soon as you say you're going to be Skyping the person, that I don't have Skype, and they might get nervous. It's no big deal. You can call them on their phone. Prior to this, I have sent them an email to make sure that they're prepared for the reading in the same way that I've prepared. I asked them to set an intention. I ask them to make sure they're somewhere there where they won't be disturbed, because it's really important, especially if they're on a cell phone and another phone call comes in. Often they can't control that, but just make it clear that this is their time and you really want them to get the most out of it. And in order for them to really get the most out of it, they've got to be honoring this time as being sacred for themselves. You just kind of like have a little, like I have a standard email I send out. I usually do it the day before the reading as a gentle reminder about the reading, the time and everything. Always make sure too you let them know what time zone you're talking about. There's times I'm very time zone challenged, so I always make sure that when I'm confirming the reading the first time and when I'm confirming confirming it right before the reading, that I really make sure that they know that I'm talking about being in the Eastern time zone, so we don't have any conflicts that way. This time too has been designated for you to spend with your client. If they are late, I still keep the clock running. If by some chance they miss it, it all depends on the reasoning. But for the most part, especially if you've given somebody a space that somebody else could have taken advantage of, you have to have your own rules and what you feel comfortable doing around this. But remember, there's nothing wrong with being firm about what you feel their commitment is to them and to you, and what your commitment is to them. So remember, this is all about really doing what's best for your client, but in the same way, honoring your spiritual training, honoring who you are as a professional. So I know there's times too, especially when you're new to this, the whole idea of charging seems a bit off. If this is spiritual work, then why are we charging? Well, it's a business, and when we use the word business, it's a light worker's business. Most of us are very driven by service, and so it does seem a little bit awkward when we talk about pricing. But remember, money is just energy, and it's a transfer of energy. So when you are giving of yourself and all that training you've done, all of that practice that you've done, you need to get some energy replenishment, or else your energy well is going to run dry, and we don't want to see that. We don't want to see burnout. You'll find that there might be friends once in a while that start taking advantage of you, and you really have to have very designated boundaries where that's concerned. You know, sometimes you have to have the hard conversation, or gently say to them, if you would like a reading, I'd be happy to do one for you. Let's set up an appointment. If it's a close friend, sometimes it's awkward to do that because you know this person so well. So to try and read them can seem a little bit inauthentic to you and to them. So in that way, I'm sure you've got wonderful colleagues you've met on all of these pages. Refer them out. And also remember to refer anybody out that you don't feel competent reading. And it's got nothing to do with your ability. For instance, often people will reach out to me to do a strict mediumship reading, and it's not something I'm certified as a medium. It will come up during some of my regular readings, but I feel that there's people out there that are better, and so I will gently explain to them what it is that I do. But if they're looking for something strictly mediumship, I will refer them out. So don't be afraid to do that. If it's something like, for instance, maybe a very strong health reading, and it's not something that you feel confident doing, and yet you know somebody who is very much a health intuitive, then refer them out. That's what's so wonderful about having these groups, that you can come together, meet each other in cyberspace, and then have the confidence to really recommend these people. And again, this is all based on your experience. You want to make sure that you do feel confident referring these people. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So now, you know, we're making our phone call and the reading begins. Again, it's very important that you keep a timer going because time can really get by you. I usually set my timer 5 minutes prior to the end of the reading so that I can tie things up and not go over. And this is particularly important if you're doing more than one reading. So keep that in mind. And again, I know it can be awkward in person to be doing and having a timer on, but I always make a joke about it and say that I promise that I'm not going to be in the middle of something fantastic and tell them, well, your time's up. I think we've seen those movies where they're in a therapist or psychiatrist office and the person is in the middle of saying something and the therapist's timer goes off and they're kind of gently escorted out of the office. I'm not talking about you doing anything like that. There's ways that you can definitely do it. But again, when we talk about energy, we have to keep in mind that if somebody has paid for a half an hour reading and then it starts going over into, you know, an hour, it's shortchanging in so many ways, you as well as your client, because again, it's an expenditure of energy that's not coming back to you. Now, getting to talking about pricing, and that's a big question that I've gotten in these meetings that we've had. Pricing really has so much to do with what you're comfortable with. It's so important important that you know what your venue is. And I've talked about this before. If you're in a psychic fair, I strongly suggest that you take a walk around prior to the fair beginning and seeing what the other psychics are charging, because chances are everybody's staying pretty much the same. And psychic fairs are a wonderful way for you to get your name out there, but it's really the tool that you want to use to encourage people to come to you for more extensive reading, get to know you, if you teach workshops, if there's other things, if you do healing work. A psychic fair is a great way to get your name out there and really get people to know you. Often when you're in a psychic fair, you're doing short readings, so you're hoping that people are going to come back and get something, book something longer with you in a private session, for instance. So when you're doing that, you want to look around at what your people are charging. If you're just doing it on your own, take a look at some of your colleagues' websites. How much are they charging? Or you can post on one of these wonderful boards that we have and ask, what are you charging? And I know I've heard quite a few people post that right now it seems like they're giving their readings away to get experience and things like that. I want to caution you again that when you're doing this for experience, for certification, that's great. But it will come with investigation. You will find venues that are going to enable you to be paid for what you do. And as I've said so many times, we can have the most beautiful brochures, the fantastic business cards. This is such a business of trust. So your best advertising is a happy client that's been satisfied with their reading and talks you up to other people. That is really your best references. So it's like getting to a psychic fair. Maybe somebody comes, gets a reading from you, loves the reading, then goes and tells their friends that aren't at the psychic fair. Now they're calling and getting your services. So again, it might seem slow going in the beginning, but really research around you. Really look at the venues and what it is that you might be able to do. A New Age store that's in the area often will do like a 60-40 split with a reader, where you'll come in, you'll make 60, they get 40, they will promote you. There's all different ways to really be able to do these readings and get this whole money business settled with you, so you're not feeling uncomfortable collecting and you are getting paid for what you're so very good at. And yes, you are good at it. This is all about building your confidence as well. So now we've got everything. We've got our price set. We've got, our phone, what we're going to do. So when you're on the phone and you're doing a reading on the phone, it's just as if the person is right there with you. And sometimes people will say to me, I feel like my reading would be so much more accurate if I was doing it in person. Well, I have found that the one nice thing about doing a phone reading is you're not looking for any facial clues at all. You don't know. So you tend to be much more spontaneous in your information, because sometimes when you're in an in-person reading and somebody looks like, what? That makes no sense to me. You'll start finding yourself censoring yourself. You'll pull back, or else you're judging by personal appearance. I think I've told a story before in these coaching sessions about a woman that came for a reading, and very young looking woman, and we got, through the reading, and I kept hearing these things about three children, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, there's no way this woman's got 3 children. She didn't look old enough to have 1 child. So I never said anything. So the reading gets done. She was very happy with the reading. And then she said to me, I was really hoping you'd mention my 3 children. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, by that point it was too late to say anything, because she wouldn't have, believed its validity, since she had already said to me she had 3 children. That was a huge lesson for me. I had learned that now when something comes in, I just really allow it to, just be spoken. And with that in mind, just remember that where we go for our information, with the angels, whomever it is that are coming through, our reading should be very positive, should be very loving. If you're feeling anything coming in that does not feel that way to you, and this is where you use your own ability, then you want to take a step back and just be cautious. I'll never forget when I was taking the class, and again, this was back in 2004, how this woman started reading me and telling me that my aura was black. And it's so freaked me out. And it was just a very negative reading across the board. You know, she asked me if I smoked and things like that. So again, she was new to this. I'm not judging, but just remember that what you're saying to these people is going to really have an impact on them. So you want to just be sure that it's coming from a loving place. And again, when you're doing all that prep work before, it will be coming from a loving place. So I'm just going to take a moment to pause here, and I'm just going to look really quickly and see. I knew this was going to happen as my glasses are all fogged up. Okay, all right. Okay, just looking through and seeing. Okay. Hello, everybody. Oh, Claudia, thank you so much for the compliment. Okay, I'm just doing this. Okay, Chris, we're going to answer your question. I have had some trouble with the Angel Answers deck. Sometimes I'll get a no card and then pull another card, or two cards come up and it is yes. This is confusing me. Thanks. You know, when we're using decks that have got those specific yes and no questions and answers, I have found the same thing, that you'll be asking a question and all of a sudden it gives you like contradictory answers. First of all, when I'm using the Angel Answers deck, what I do is I separate the cards out. So I'll have one little stack that has just yes or no, and the other things that pertain to definitive answers. I have one that has the one word. I have one that has like the time. I separate them all out into different topics. So if I'm using that card and I'm asking a yes or no question, I'll just pull one card from that little stack. That's going to really help with the confusion. The other thing that you can do is look what else is on the card that might give you some insight. Is there a color on that card? Is the image there that might have more to do? You know, what it could mean is no for now, but yes in the future. Again, remember that when we're doing these readings, you'll sometimes get a card that makes no sense to you and makes no sense to your client. So what you have to do is you have to dig in that card. Always go to yourself first. Always trust your own intuition. You're getting a no and it's saying, oh no, I really see this as happening. So what that could be is about timing. You're the best interpreter of the card. So if something comes up that doesn't make sense to you, then just go a little bit deeper. Like I say, maybe there's a butterfly on the card and it's saying no, that we're still kind of in our caterpillar stage, but it's going to give us an opportunity to spread our wings, and it's going to say yes. But I have found that by separating that deck out into topics, it helps, because then what I'll do is if it's a yes or no, I will just go to that specific little stack and just pull one card, and then I'll move on. I usually will use that deck very specifically if people are asking me a yes or no, or if people are asking me a time frame. And then what I'll do is when I'm doing a reading, I will create stacks. So I'll do the first 3 card pull, and then what I'll notice using all different decks is that there will be a theme in each stack, and they'll be I do a 3 card pull, and it'll be very clear by the end of the stack what the message is. So that might really help, Chris, is to separate those out. So I think it's a good idea. Let's see. Oh, blessings from Australia. Yes, Mikal, I've got yellow on today, my power color. Okay, just kind of looking. Hey, Sherry, Monica. Okay, Leslie, Karen. Okay, let's just see. One, Regina. Hey, good morning. Sandy, Francine, Letty, Liliana. Hello. All different parts of the world joining us here. So I'm just scrolling quickly. Forgive me if I don't go. Hi from Australia, Stephanie, Kim. Okay, I don't want to lose these comments. Okay, so Monica's telling us it's $2.99 a month for Skype for domestic calls. If you're using international, the price changes. Okay, let's just see. All righty. Lee is saying, I have to know who the reading is coming from and know exactly what they know, what they're doing. I'm not sure if you're talking about other readers, Lee, or if you're talking about how you get the information. Yeah, Barbara is saying that she's had smoking come up often in her readings, and she's very good with health issues. And see, that's great. We have a medical intuitive there. I try to ask with as much compassion as possible. And that is the key. The key so much is about having compassion when you're doing these readings. You'll often get somebody that's very distraught, asking about a relationship, and you might be getting all of the signals that this relationship is really over and the person is really desperate to rekindle the relationship. You have to handle this gently, because what I have found is that when you're doing these types of readings where you're getting very strict guidance for your client that this relationship is over, if the client is not ready to accept that, this is how I do it. I'll look at it and I'll just tell her or him very gently that, that it looks like you and your soulmate, because I believe that everybody that comes into our lives in a relationship in some way is a soulmate. Your journey may be over. Really, it looks like maybe you've learned what you can from this relationship. And I'll really make them see that this is a part of healing, that this is a part of the process. But I will never say never. Because you could just see, and feel the energy when you start really leading them away from what they want to hear. However, it's your, obligation to give them the information. So what I'll do is tell them as kindly as I can that, yes, this relationship is coming to an end. However, energies can always change. And I so believe this. You could be looking at a relationship right now, and you see that one of the partners in the relationship is not vibrating energetically the way the other one is. And there's a disconnect between the two. And it's very obvious there. But within 24 hours, that other person could all of a sudden realize that this person is the love of their life, and if they don't shape up, they're leaving, and things can change. And that's why we do the best we can in the time we're in. But it's important to remember that this is not a perfect science. Really, no science is perfect. There's always exceptions to the rule. So things can change. And if a client, you see all of these signs that this is over, and your client's looking for hope, I feel that it's very kind to leave them with that, because there's no real, in my opinion, there's no real things that are definitive as with our answers. So compassion is key here. So I'm going to scroll through a little bit more in a few minutes, but let me just tell you as well, I know email readings. Now, we talked about phone readings. We've got everything going. Now, what about an email reading? An email reading, I do exactly the same way as if I was on a phone or anything else. The one email reading that I do, I give them, like, for instance, like one question with a recommended course of action. And what I'll do is, again, get into it. I'll start allowing the things to come to me. I'll usually only use one deck of cards in an email reading because, again, it's time. And now you've got to add the additional time of you typing and getting the answers to them. So what I'll do is I will, get into the answer. I'll first do a totally intuitive channeling for them. I begin my email reading with that. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. So the client has asked me a question. So I'm getting the first hits that I'm getting about this. Then I'll go to whatever deck I have selected. And I usually pull 3 cards. If it's one question, I pull 3 cards and get the person their information that way. So I treat it exactly the same. I find with doing email readings that it's very easy to go over because, again, typing, and because I'm a writer, I'm rereading it, making sure that it makes sense. And sometimes when you're channeling like that, it doesn't always make sense. So you might have to be doing some corrections and things like that. You want to make sure that it's legible, that it makes sense, especially if you are channeling, that the information is coming through and that you're giving them it written in a legible way. But again, these flow very well for me. And just like doing a phone reading, there's nothing different about what you're doing, regardless of what type of reading that you're doing. Just keep that in mind, because it's all coming from source. It's all coming from whatever spirits you're going to. The information is coming. How you deliver the information is really inconsequential. It's just where it's coming from. So email readings can be done the same way. And what's nice about an email reading for your client is they have something in writing. Now, sometimes, I used to do this all the time. I don't do it as much anymore. I will put for entertainment purposes only somewhere on the email, and because it protects you. If by some chance people come back and say, well, you said X, Y, and Z and it didn't happen. In this world right now, I think sometimes it's not a bad idea to err on the side of caution when you're protecting yourself. So you might want to put that in there, for entertainment purposes only, and just give yourself an out that way. So again, timer on, keeping an eye on the clock and what it is that you're doing, but you're just moving through the reading. The other thing is too, when you're doing this type of reading, make sure that you've got your phone turned off. You're not doing anything but that reading. That's a sacred time, just as if you were with that person in person. So don't multitask. When you're doing an email reading, set aside a time. I usually try and get my email readings back to my clients within 24 hours. If there's a reason that you can't, give them a time frame so they know when to expect it. I ask them if they'd like it in the body of an email or if they would prefer an attachment. So you can send them a Word document. Some of these spam files won't let those go through, so it might be safer to put in the body of an email, but this is something I ask my client. Great tool to use to give readings. Again, especially because of what the distance is and getting somebody that information. The thing is, the client, if they've got a question they want a more, a quicker answer to, it might be, something they don't want to wait 24 hours. But for most of us, I rarely can get to a reading faster than that because of other commitments and other readings I've got going on. So give yourselves time and space. If I'm like going on a weekend and I get a reading coming in late on a Friday, then I'll give myself the weekend and say I will get your answer back to you within. I don't make any commitments that I can't keep. And again, all of my people pay for their readings prior to their readings. So there's an integrity issue there. I understand that. They're paying for something. They want to make sure they're getting what they pay for. I totally get it. So as soon as I get their payment, I use PayPal. I respond as soon as I see it and tell them I've received their payment. If we have to set up a phone appointment, we'll get that discourse going. With the email reading, I'll respond. Again, to make sure that they know that they have to, ask me the question they're looking for the answer to or whatever. So again, this is all the ways that I handle it. Now, the other service that I offer is a video reading. For a video reading, you and your client both have to have Skype. Now, again, I suppose you could do it on an iPad using FaceTime and things like that. I really resist unless absolutely necessary to have anybody have my phone number. It's one of the reasons why I do use Skype. But again, that's a personal preference up to you. I always make sure that I'm dressed very professionally when I'm doing a video reading. And what's nice is that the people can actually see the cards as they're pulled. So we set a time. I tell them they have to have a camera, have a Skype account, and it's good to go. And it's really enjoyable for people who like to make facial contact versus the phone. But I would say I pretty much do equal phone readings, video readings right now. In the process of doing a few email readings right now. So again, it seems like it runs in streaks. For those of you that would like to really look at my services, if you go to my webpage, which is susandentino.com, you will see on the services, click that tab, and everything will come up with my pricing and the different services that I offer. So again, depending, I do charge a little bit more for video readings, so much of my pricing and everything has just been downloaded to me, and I kind of go with that. So let's see if we've got any other questions coming in here. Okay, just a reminder, I'm not doing readings. Okay, so Althea, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. When you get the card that says come out of the closet, how do you explain that card? Okay, because obviously something like that, and again, getting back to whatever deck you're using, when you get a card like that, and again, depending what kind of reading you're doing, but just for the sake of argument, let's say it's an in-person reading, and you get that reading, and you get that card, and you're looking at the person, and again, we've got our ego kicking in. It doesn't really make sense to you. Or again, from an energy standpoint, even if you're doing a phone reading, that card can be interpreted many different ways. It can be interpreted very strictly, and you will see that maybe there's something that the client needs to talk about that isn't talking. And so much of this, like I'm wearing a lot of turquoise today, and it's so much again about the throat chakra, speaking my truth, things like that. So this could be something as simple as a throat chakra issue. Is there a person that your client needs to speak their truth with? So again, remember, we don't have to really interpret the cards literally. If the card you're looking at just doesn't seem like it makes sense to the messages that are coming through, just be a little bit creative with it. And again, opening yourself up to allowing that information to come through. So often when that card comes up, I find it has something to do with something that the person isn't really talking about that they really want to express. Being in their power and feeling comfortable really expressing themselves. So when you're using more than one deck, what'll be helpful as well if a card like that comes up that doesn't make sense is as you make your lines. So like I said, doing for me like a 3-card pull, then I'll pull the second cards and do the 3 card. Then what will happen is maybe that second card will enlighten what comes out of the closet means. It's so fascinating for me when I'm doing this, especially when I'm doing a 60-minute reading, and I'm using a lot of cards and have all the time in the world to really explain what we're getting here, to see the way the lines develop, especially if there's a particular issue your client wants resolved, like a career path issue. And you will just see, it's fascinating because you're using all different decks and the way that they will just line up. And what makes it even more interesting for me is I always start my readings with just giving them intuitive insights before I go to the cards. So it really makes me feel good when the cards validate what I've said. So again, remember those cards are a tool. You are the best interpreter. So just allow yourself to be creative in their interpretation and keep it out of your head as much as you can about being wrong. That's ego talking. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's see. Thank you, Athea, for pointing that. Okay, just going through these. I'm not saying hello. I'm not doing readings, everybody that is asking for readings. By the way, I am going to be doing readings this Thursday, my new moon broadcast, which gives you all the information that you need for the new moon, is going to be this Thursday at 7 p.m. And it's going to be really powerful because we'll be pulling as well from the summer solstice energy. So that's Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I will be doing mini readings during that. Facebook Live on my page, SusanDentino.com. Also, really exciting to celebrate the summer solstice. This week on my radio show, The Night Shift, which is on W4CY.com radio. That's 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be talking about fairy energy, and I'm going to be doing mini fairy readings. So I just think that's going to be so great. It's an internet radio show, and again, for those of you that have just joined me, I'm Susan Dentino. I am a Hay House author, also an intuitive, do readings of all kinds. I teach meditation, I teach workshops. And I've had some people reaching out to me, asking me about doing personal mentoring. And I haven't really put this up on my services page yet, but it is something that I do. And if you'd like a 1-hour coaching session, we can work that out. If you'd like to meet once a week, once every other week, once a month, I have all different options that you can explore. And for now, if you're interested, the best thing to do would be to message me here on Facebook or to send me an email at the word wish, W-I-S-H, the number 2, the word be, at AOL.com. And when this gets done, I'll post that information right down so you have my email address. But I am doing personal, professional coaching. And again, this is coaching. This is not readings. I offer readings on my website as well. But if you're looking for some one-on-one mentoring, yes, that is something that I do. Okay. Oh, Barbara's saying that I found email readings take a long time, and since I'm not a fast typer, I record them on my phone and email the audio. Wow, that's a great idea. That is a great idea, Barbara. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Monica, for putting my website, and Barbara. Okay. Oh, good. Althea, I'm glad I pronounced it right. Okay. Okay, so Bonnie's asking about dolphins. Dolphins come in to remind us to play. And I know there was somebody, I'm not sure who it was. I should have gotten the names, but I was going crazy, to be honest with you, trying to get my iPad, because this was a new venue, trying to get it to a point where I could make eye contact and know exactly where I should be looking. So hopefully I am looking exactly at you through this. Dolphins remind us to play. There's so much mystery around dolphins, and yet such a strong connection so much of us feel. Where I live in Florida, we see them all the time, and every time I see a dolphin when I'm on a beach walk, I always feel that it's a message for me to lighten up, to play. And as a matter of fact, that card actually says, remember to play. So it's always why I have it here in Buffalo, right next to my computer. So it does remind me. When we're doing our readings and talking about professional readings, it's always important to keep in mind that wherever this information comes from is very significant. So in other words, if we've got the dolphins coming in and you're seeing dolphins around your client, this could be because first of all, your client has a strong Mer energy. And for those of you that are familiar with the realms that Doreen Virtue has talked about, we have, the fairies, the Mer. That's a very interesting book. If you've never read it before, I recommend it. And again, Earth Angels was the original title. These things come to me. I'm not exactly sure the title of it now. This is a powerful tool when you're reading your clients. When somebody is coming to me personally, or I'm getting their energy and I feel a strong fairy connection, then I'm definitely going to go to the more playful fairy. I'll go to Fairy Tarot, the fairy cards. I use Robert Reeves Flower Images cards. I'll be very inclined to use that. And playing is such an important component when you're dealing with somebody whose strong realm is fairy realm. Because I tell those people when I'm reading them that you need to really pencil playing right into your day timer, or put it in your phone. Play, even if it's 5 minutes a day. Playing is essential. Getting in the sunshine, being outdoors. So the dolphins are really very much a sign to play, to let up. Let me think now. Okay, I want to say Lemuria, but I know there's the one dolphin stone, and it could also be dolphins could be coming up for you as well because of a dolphin stone connection, and it'll come, I want to say Lemuria, it might be, but it's funny because I looked at it right before I got dressed today and was thinking about wearing this, but jewelry, but this just called to me. So I think that's it. Reminding you to play, reminding your client to play if that dolphin energy is coming in. Animals and this whole thing is very, very fascinating and interesting. And for those of you that do want to explore that, there's some great decks out there. I know that Radley Valentine and Doreen Virtue are coming out with a new animal tarot deck. A lot of information coming from there, and especially getting to this whole, summer solstice. I feel like it's such an earth kind of really feeling. The shaman are beautiful spirit animals. So you might be finding those images coming into you more and more often. It's funny because the dolphin is my spirit animal, so I just have such a strong connection with that. I really get it. But before let me see, what are we looking at here? Yeah, we've still got a few minutes. I just want to finish up with saying, okay, you've done your reading. It's over. You've exchanged your bartering or your money. Everything's done. Now, very important to remember to cut your cords. Okay? I release you with love and light. And really what I do is I very much just kind of do a little karate chop and I say, I release you with love and light. That's basically the way I do it. You're cutting your cords to your client. You're saying, you keep your energy, I'll keep mine. And you just release and let that person go. Very, very important. Make sure your aura is back in. Check your protection technique. Make sure that you're feeling very comfortable. And you know, if you've had a client that has seemed particularly challenging to read, just keep in mind that sometimes it'll be the littlest things that you say that will get through to the person after the reading. So if you're continually hearing this makes no sense, what I say to the client is, it might not make sense now, but it will make sense in the future. Time is very relative when we're doing these readings. And I've used the example before where I told somebody they were going to sell their house in August and it was July and they did sell it in August of the next year. So, you know, sometimes timing can be a factor in that as well. Keep that in mind. But if somebody is really challenging, again, don't let it shake you. Just understand you were the messenger. So it's not about you being right or wrong. You're just kind of the conduit that whatever their higher beings want to get through to them, somehow, some way you did, and you said that. So we've cut our cords, we release them with love and light. I always have water on hand. I just feel like I like to really do some detoxing on the inside. And again, not that anything I did was toxic. I always feel very charged after doing readings. I feel so happy and grateful that I'm able to do this work. I feel like I've made a difference in some small way. I always feel very happy. It's been very rare, very, very rare. I can't even give you an example that I did a reading that I didn't come away with like an adrenaline rush, you know, just feeling good about what I was doing. And that's how you know you're in the pocket. You know you're in the pocket when you get that feeling, when your ego has been totally removed and you have just gotten yourself to a point where you're just strictly being there to assist and do what it is that you love to do. Do what it is that you're passionate about doing. So let me check a few more here. Larimar, thank you, Elsa. That's it, Larimar. Thank you very much. That's this dolphin stone. Okay, let's see. Oh, Barbara. Yeah, that would be a bad idea to do a dolphin workshop. Yeah, Barbara is saying, Conforti is saying she also sends the audio via email or WhatsApp. Okay, let's see. I'm just looking here. Okay. Okay, I think we've pretty much gotten it. I really would love to hear from you. If there's topics that you really want to be covered, let me know. Next week, I will be here live at the same time, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And what I'm going to be doing is talking about creating meditations. We'll talk about some of the things, the apps you can use, things that you can use, because I've had people asking me about that. But I'd love to hear from you. If there's things that you really would like me to discuss, I would be happy to do so. Again, this is the 11th episode. The rest are on my YouTube station channel. I'll get this one on there as soon as I can, take some time to download, etc. Keep in mind as you're proceeding on this path, whether you're brand new as a CACR, Fairyologist, Angel Intuitive, whatever your path is, remember that this is a journey. And I know so often metaphysically we roll our eyes because we hear that so much, including me, but it is. Really get to the point of loving what you do. When you're doing these professional readings, especially if you're at a psychic fair, don't book yourself to the point of exhaustion. Book yourself so that you can enjoy these readings, enjoy meeting the people. Joy, the beautiful hummingbird, is the key to all of this. You're in your passion. You're in what it is that you love to do. So enjoy it. Don't put pressure on yourself. When you're preparing yourself for your readings and bringing in that whole sacred energy, keep in mind that this is not about being right or wrong. believe me, I understand, because that, I think, is one of the biggest challenges when we do our readings. We so want to help people that we don't want to be wrong. But get that ego out of the way. That client is coming to you because for whatever reason, that client's been drawn to you. And no matter, it can be the simplest thing. It can be a compassionate ear. There's sometimes I'm doing readings where I have a hard time getting a word in edgewise, and I listen. I just listen because maybe that's all that client needs. And I listen and maybe pull a card at the end or whatever. Remember, you're there to be of assistance to that client. So thank you so much. All of you that joined me, all of your hellos and good vibrations. I so appreciate it. Susan Dentino again. Please visit my website. I'd love to have you join me on I'm going to put all the links up here on the night shift this week, and we're going to have a lot of fun with the summer solstice, the fairy energy, and that 7 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY, and then my new moon broadcast, which will be coming up this Thursday. And because I don't want to turn around and be rude to look at the calendar, it's this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Both of these I do mini readings. And also, if you'd like to, talk to me a little bit about mentoring, don't hesitate to message me. So you have a fabulous Saturday. I hope everything is beautiful in your neck of the woods, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much for joining me.